Under a new bill proposed by a congresswoman from Hawaii, the federal government would track all kinds of gun parts, including barrels and slides. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to start this video out with a disclaimer that I do not think such a bill as this has a chance under the current makeup of Congress. For that same reason, I have not covered the newest attempt at an assault weapons ban because I look at it as a big fat nothing burger. But with this bill, we get a different picture of where the gun controllers' heads are at, and it's not unlike bills that have been introduced at the state level in exactly the places you would expect. In fact, I would be more concerned if this was introduced at a state level because it would have a higher chance of passing and then spreading to all of the usual suspects. So, because we are seeing this kind of bill crop up both in the state and the federal level, that is why I'm covering it, so we can know what might be coming down the pike. Now, this bill, called the Ghost Hardware Oversight and Shipping Act, or GHOST Act, even though it's missing a word starting with a T, would allow law enforcement to collect and track data on the sale of gun parts. And no, not just so-called, quote, ghost gun parts. Pretty much all parts that could possibly be pieced together with other 3D printed parts to make a gun. At a press conference, Congresswoman Jill Tokuda demonstrated the danger of this by showing off pistols with 3D printed parts like this super cute one with a nice bright red. And I know that the menfolk here on this channel aren't even looking at this part of the photo, but I'm sorry, what even are those shoes? They are not cute. Seriously, you would think that with all the money they steal from us that she would at least have better footwear. And yes, that's actually one of the first things I noticed. Anyway, before I get into the details of this bill, this video is brought to you by Blackout Coffee Company. Blackout is a Florida-based coffee roaster that has strong roots in supporting Second Amendment rights and traditional values. They have amazing coffees, teas, and hot chocolates, and even have instant coffee now available in their lineup, which I got for myself just this morning. Just add your 1 packet of 100% freeze-dried coffee to your water, which this smells amazing, by the way. Stir, you're ready to go. Oh, that's good. They support channels like mine and have dedicated partner roasts that raise money for GOA, FPC, and even the Second Amendment Foundation. So to get a cup of coffee that you can be proud of and help support the channel, go to blackoutcoffee.com/LibertyDoll, and as a bonus, you can use code LibertyDoll for a one-time 20% discount. Tokuda says that her bill would be a way for law enforcement to crack down on unserialized firearms. These are parts online that you can buy right now, but put together, they make a weapon of destruction, she said at a news conference. Her complaint was that people could print out a frame and buy a barrel online to make a functional gun. The police at the presser also dragged Glock switches into this and used a 3D printer on site that they claimed belonged to a minor who normally only printed toys, to demonstrate how easy it is to print a frame. And they used nice, bright colors. Also at the presser, Honolulu Police Chief Arthur Logan claimed that there are over 500,000 unregistered guns in Hawaii alone that they have no way to track. Which, well, yeah, there's not supposed to be a register of firearms, and what do you expect in a strict gun control state other than for people to find a way to circumvent the law? Where there is a demand, the market will provide. And just because you pass a law doesn't mean that the demand goes away. Literally, laws create black markets. Basic economics, folks! So what the GHOST Act would look like is that law enforcement receive a list. The director of the State Department of Law Enforcement said, "We're seeing, 10 kits that have been received by an individual, but they have no registered firearms, or they're a felon, right? That type of information can create a red flag for us." He also blamed shipping companies for not making sure parts are being delivered to legitimate gun owners, which is not at all their responsibility. He said that legal, registered firearm owners would still be able to order gun components without extra scrutiny. And yet there's no way to make this kind of law without additional scrutiny on law-abiding gun owners, not to mention, again, there's that word registration that like isn't supposed to happen. I mean, how would they do that? How would they go about it? Would they require a gun license to buy a barrel or a firing pin or a slide, a spring? Like, how far is this going to go? And what would law enforcement do with this information? There's nothing illegal about upgrading parts on your gun or swapping out a slide or a trigger or fixing something that has broken or worn out. Not to mention, the Firearm Owners Protection Act is supposed to, well, protect against this exact sort of thing. Now, in practice, we know that that's not the case because the ATF and plenty of state governments have been finding ways around it. Like everything else. Technically, so could Takuta's bill if the bill doesn't outright say it would be a permanent record of frames or receivers, because you could probably argue something like a barrel or a slide or whatever isn't a gun, and so it's not a list of people buying guns. I know that this is semantics, but I have covered these kind of things enough to know that that would probably be part of the argument. Now, as I said, this bill, I think, has no chance of passing right now. I don't even think that it would get out of committee, but it is something similar to a bill that we've seen introduced already in California and might be a preview of bills introduced once the Republicans are no longer in control of Congress. And again, so that is why I'm telling you guys, so we can know what kind of thing might be coming down the pike and, I don't know, hold on to our butts. Because as long as nothing is done to dismantle the powers that allow this sort of thing to happen, and as long as the Supreme Court puts out decisions like Bruen and then doesn't take any of the cases involving laws violating Bruen, and as long as they do things like the frame and receiver rule and say, oh yeah, good to go, then these kinds of things are going to happen as soon as, Team Red isn't in control anymore. And let's be real, Team Red, not doing very well on the gun control front right now as is. But you guys know how I feel about all that. So that is it for this video. You guys know the drill. For all of the algorithm things, please do them. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there and happy shooting.